Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School junior Ariana Klein survived the shooting. She and her father, Andrew Klein, join us now from Parkland, Florida, after attending yesterday's listening session with the president at the White House. It's very good to see both of you. Thank you for joining us. I know how difficult this situation has been, although we can't really understand it and what you've all gone through. You were amazingly poised yesterday, Ariana, at that White House event. I watched every minute of it, and I know the country and just is rallying to all of you. And your reaction to this news that we just learned a few hours ago about how the security detail who did have a weapon didn't enter the building. Your reaction to that?
Well, you know, as a father, Laura, and thank you for having us, it's just maddening to hear that news. You know, when you put your faith in the law enforcement to act to protect your children, and then they fail to act, it's just inexcusable. And, you know, it highlights the other failures that led to this tragedy, that contributed to this tragedy, which was the breakdown at the FBI. They failing to act on the tips that they had, the prior failures of the BSO. So I think that people need to be held accountable. This deputy has apparently been held accountable, but I think we need to continue to look at who's responsible for their failures to act in these circumstances.
Ariana, also in the investigation, they found out that the security camera footage that I guess the officials on the scene at the time were reviewing was delayed. So they weren't getting real-time information about what was happening inside the building. There was a several-minute delay, so they were reacting to things that had already happened, which kind of defeats the purpose, don't you think? Ariana, your reaction?
Yes. Yes, well, I think it's disgusting that a police officer on campus, he knew his job, and for him not to enter the building where harmless, like innocent children were being shot is just disgusting. And I think that in regards to the technology department and the fact that the security footage was 20 minutes delayed, it should never have happened, and that's one of the simple issues that everyone can agree on that needs to be fixed. We need to be proactive instead of reactive, and we can't have these security footages being looked at after the matter.
Last night at the big CNN town hall event, there was a lot of raw emotion.
And Laura, that's not surprising at all. I actually spoke to a CNN producer on Thursday, the day after the shooting. And the producer insinuated to me they were looking for people who were willing to espouse a certain narrative, which was taking the tragedy and turning it into a policy debate. And I read that as being a gun control debate. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the people talking about gun control don't understand what they're talking about, because I'm a Republican, I'm a gun owner, I'm a responsible gun owner. And when we talk about gun control, it's not about taking guns away from people like me. It's about keeping them out of the hands of the people who should not have them, who are irresponsible, who are a threat to society. And when, you know, last night when Ted Deutsch kept repeating his mantra that he wants to eliminate any gun that can fire 150 rounds in 6 minutes, that's almost every gun that's out there. So this supposed assault weapons ban, these other items they're talking about, aren't going to accomplish anything, you know, along those lines. So I agree we need to make some headway. We need to raise the age to buy a rifle. I agree with the president on that. But beyond that, a lot of these folks who are yelling gun control, really don't have a great grasp on what they're talking about.
So, Andrew, let me just get this straight. So the CNN producer who called you right after the shooting said specifically what about the way they wanted to produce interviews and so forth?
Well, as I recall, the producer said, you know, we're looking for people who want to talk about the policy implications about what happened in terms of, she didn't mention guns, but, you know, in terms of the policy implications for preventing future mass shootings. And if you know folks who want to talk about that, we'd like to speak to those people.
Very interesting. Ariana and
Yes.
Mr. Klein, thank you so much for joining us. Our prayers continue to be with the people of Parkland, and you guys are incredible. You were amazing yesterday. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So my next guest is a teacher in Salt Lake City, Utah. She says she carries a handgun in school every day. Casey Hansen joins us now. Casey, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So why are you armed when you go to school every day?
Because, well, it all started back with Sandy Hook. I watched how the teachers just huddled their kids in the corner and stood in front of them and hoped for the best. They didn't have any defense for them, and all they could do is hope that the bad guy didn't come in and shoot up their room. And for me, I needed a better option. I needed a better plan set in place rather than just hunker down and hope for the best.
You know, I've read that some teachers who went through this experience and other teachers who are reflecting on it afterwards say, you know, that they would put themselves in front of their children to save them. And as you point out, I mean, that's a heroic thing to say, and it is not what people sign up for when they become a teacher. But you feel that you've empowered yourself by doing this. What's the reaction? You know, is there any pushback to you having a gun in the schools that you work in?
There has been pushback, yes. There's been pushback ever since I came out right after Sandy Hook, and even now there still is pushback. But I became a teacher because I love children. I love children, and I would do anything for them. And if that means taking a bullet, then yes, I will take a bullet for my children. But why not give me the chance to also fight back in the process?
And how were you trained?
So I first took the concealed carry class, and I started going to the ranges, the gun ranges, and I started practicing, and I would get my hands on a lot of different types of guns. I would find the ones that I found the most comfortable. I would shoot anything and everything I could get my hands on, and I would go to the range. You know, at first I was going to the range constantly. It's gone, you know, it's now a couple times a month. But I just feel like constant practice and constant knowledge of guns so that you are comfortable with what you're doing.
You know, I heard one person saying that the reason they don't think teachers should be armed is that when the police come in, there's going to be too much confusion if you have 6 or 7 people in the facility who have guns. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. My answer is to say, you know, if somebody's coming up to my door, I'm going to yell, I have a gun. If it's the bad guy, he may think twice about coming in my room. If it's the police, they're going to respond and say, it's the police, put it down, and then I'll obey. But I would definitely yell out, I have a gun, and you know, I'm ready. And if the police come, then I know to put it back.
Who would have ever thought that teachers would have to take these things into consideration? And you've taken it and trained yourself. And I think a lot of people will probably give you credit, and other people will probably, you know, wonder what you're doing. But we thank you.
Exactly.
Casey, thank you very much for speaking out. I know it's not easy to do. Good to have you here tonight.
Yeah.